Beneath the vast, frozen expanse of Antarctica lies a secret, one that's been buried for thousands of years. Satellite images have revealed strange, geometric shapes hidden under miles of ice, structures so precise they defy natural explanation. What if these anomalies aren't just quirks of geology? What if they're remnants of something far more extraordinary, an ancient civilization, lost to time and frozen in silence? This isn't just speculation. For decades, whispers of bizarre discoveries have surfaced from the coldest continent on Earth. Unexplained pyramids, massive tunnels stretching beneath the ice, even reports of classified military operations shrouded in secrecy. Why would governments pour so much effort into a place seemingly devoid of life? Some researchers believe they're hiding something that could rewrite human history. Imagine a world where advanced societies thrived long before our recorded past, only to vanish beneath the ice, their secrets preserved in a frozen tomb. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on Antarctica's most compelling mysteries. From the eerie symmetry of its so-called pyramids to the baffling accounts of explorers who claim to have stumbled upon impossible ruins, we'll examine the evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew. Could the icy wasteland at the bottom of our planet actually be the graveyard of a forgotten civilization? The answers might be closer than we think, locked beneath the ice, waiting to be uncovered. This isn't just a story about the past, it's a puzzle that could redefine our future, and you're about to step into the heart of it. One of the most baffling pieces of evidence hinting at Antarctica's hidden past isn't buried under ice, it's a map. In 1513, Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis created a world map so accurate it defies historical understanding. What makes it extraordinary isn't just its age, but what it depicts Antarctica. Not as we know it today, encased in miles of ice, but as a landmass with coastlines, rivers, and mountains, features that match modern sonar scans of the continent's subglacial topography with eerie precision. Here's the problem. According to conventional history, Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820, over 300 years after the Piri Reis Map was drawn. Even then, its true shape remained a mystery until mid-20th century technology peeled back the ice. So how did a 16th century cartographer chart a continent no one supposedly knew existed and get its hidden contours right? Reis himself noted that his work was based on older source maps, some dating back to Alexander the Great's era. This raises an electrifying possibility. Did ancient civilizations possess knowledge of Antarctica before it froze? Mainstream historians struggle to explain the map's accuracy. Some argue it's coincidence or artistic license, but the details are too precise to dismiss. The map even shows the Queen Maud Land region with terrain matching modern surveys, features that have been buried under ice for at least 12,000 years. If the Piri Reis Map truly preserves fragments of an ancient worldview, it suggests a forgotten chapter of human history where advanced seafarers mapped lands we've only rediscovered in the last century. The implications are staggering. Either this is the most incredible cartographic coincidence in history, or someone, long before recorded time, explored a very different Antarctica. And if they could map it, what else did they know? The Piri Reis Map isn't the only anomaly pointing to Antarctica's hidden secrets. Fast forward to 1946, when the United States launched Operation Highjump, the largest military expedition ever sent to the frozen continent. Led by Admiral Richard Byrd, the mission involved 13 ships, multiple aircraft carriers, and over 4,700 troops. Officially, it was billed as a scientific and training operation, but the scale and urgency of the deployment raised eyebrows. Why would the military pour so many resources into a desolate, ice-covered wasteland? Admiral Byrd's own words only deepened the mystery. In interviews after the mission, he made cryptic references to encounters with enemy aircraft capable of incredible speeds, emerging from polar regions where no known civilization existed. Then, just as abruptly as it began, Operation Highjump was cut short by weeks. The official explanation cited mechanical failures and harsh conditions, but rumors swirled that something far more unsettling had forced the retreat. Declassified documents add fuel to the fire. Some reports mention strange, unidentified structures spotted from the air, geometric formations that didn't match any known natural formations. Others hint at classified photographs showing what appear to be artificial ruins beneath the ice. Bayard himself allegedly wrote in his private journal about entering a hidden territory, describing a vast, uncharted land with lush greenery, an impossible detail given Antarctica's frozen landscape. If these whispers are true, what did the military really find down there? Was Operation Highjump not just a training exercise, but a desperate attempt to uncover, or even defend against something ancient and unknown? The abrupt end to the mission, Bayard's alarming statements, and the eerie consistency of the classified leaks all point to a possibility too explosive to ignore. Antarctica may not just be hiding ruins, it could be concealing a truth so profound it was worth sending an armada to keep it buried. High above the frozen plains of Antarctica's Ellsworth Mountains, satellite imagery has captured something that shouldn't be there: three nearly perfect pyramidal structures protruding through the ice. Their symmetrical slopes and precise angles mirror the Great Pyramid of Giza with unsettling similarity, sparking fierce debate among researchers. Are these natural formations playing tricks on our eyes, or could they be remnants of something crafted by intelligent hands? The largest of these anomalies measures over 2 kilometers square at its base, with sides aligning almost perfectly to the cardinal directions, a feature seen in ancient megalithic sites worldwide. Even more perplexing is their positioning. The trio forms a near equilateral triangle across the mountain range, a geometric arrangement that defies typical glacial erosion patterns. When computer models strip away millennia of accumulated ice, the shapes become even more striking, revealing what appear to be terraced levels and smooth facades reminiscent of step pyramids found in Mesoamerica and Egypt. Mainstream geologists argue these are Nunataks exposed mountain peaks shaped by wind and ice over eons, but critics highlight glaring inconsistencies. Nunataks typically display jagged, irregular profiles, not the clean 45-degree angles visible here. Ice core samples from the region compound the mystery. While preliminary dating suggests the structures could be millions of years old, some layers contain unexplained microfossil patterns and mineral deposits inconsistent with surrounding geology. The most provocative theory suggests these aren't mountains at all, but colossal artificial constructs buried during a cataclysmic climate shift. Proponents point to ancient flood myths from multiple cultures describing a great civilization swallowed by the snows of the south. Could satellite images be showing us the last surviving architecture of that forgotten world? As technology peels back Antarctica's icy veil, the line between geology and archaeology grows disturbingly thin. What emerges may force us to reconsider not just who we are, but who came before. Deep within the stark white expanse of East Antarctica, a river of blood-red water stains the ice, an eerie phenomenon known as blood falls. This 5-story crimson waterfall isn't the work of some ancient curse, but something far more extraordinary. The liquid pouring from Taylor Glacier's fractured tongue is saturated with iron oxide, giving it that haunting rust-colored hue. But the real shock lies in what scientists found when they sampled the water: a thriving community of microbes isolated and preserved in an underground reservoir for nearly 2 million years. These aren't ordinary bacteria. They're extremophiles, organisms capable of surviving in conditions that would kill almost any other life form on Earth. Trapped in a briny, oxygen-deprived pocket beneath half a mile of ice, These microbes have evolved to live without sunlight or organic food sources. Instead, they metabolize sulfur and iron compounds, creating energy through chemical reactions that defy our understanding of biology. The implications are staggering. If life can persist in such a hostile environment, cut off from the surface for millennia, what else might be lurking in Antarctica's hidden subterranean networks? The discovery has rewritten the rules of where life can exist. Researchers now speculate that vast liquid water systems could lie beneath Antarctica's ice sheets, hosting ecosystems entirely alien to us. Some of these subglacial lakes, like Lake Vostok, have been sealed away for 15 million years or more. When scientists drilled into Vostok's icy cap in 2012, they found genetic traces of over 3,000 unique organisms, many with no known parallels in surface-dwelling life. This raises a chilling possibility. If microorganisms can survive frozen in time beneath Antarctica's wasteland, could remnants of more complex life, or even intelligence, also be preserved down there? Imagine a scenario where an ancient civilization, faced with a rapidly glaciating world, retreated into caverns or geothermal oases beneath the ice. Over generations, they might have adapted to live in perpetual darkness, their technology and culture slowly fading into myth. While no direct evidence supports this theory, Blood Falls proves one thing beyond doubt: Antarctica's depths are anything but dead. Microscopic footage of these microbes reveals their otherworldly nature. Some form intricate chains clinging together in the briny darkness. Others secrete iron-rich compounds, effectively breathing metals instead of oxygen. Their existence suggests that life, once established, is nearly impossible to eradicate even when buried under crushing ice for epochs. If similar pockets dot the continent, they could serve as time capsules, preserving not just microbes, but potentially artifacts or structures shielded from surface erosion. The deeper we look, the more Antarctica defies expectations. From Blood Fall's resilient organisms to the hypothetical ecosystems hidden below, this frozen continent might hold the keys to understanding life's tenacity and the possibility that we're not the first to walk this planet. Every droplet of that crimson waterfall carries a message. Beneath the ice, the past isn't just buried, it's alive. Buried under 2.4 miles of Antarctic ice lies one of the planet's most enigmatic secrets, Lake Vostok. This massive subglacial body of water, roughly the size of Lake Ontario, has been sealed away from the outside world for at least 15 million years. Cut off from sunlight and the Earth's atmosphere, it exists in a state of suspended time, a liquid oasis in an otherwise frozen desert. But what makes Vostok truly extraordinary isn't just its isolation, it's what scientists suspect might be lurking in its pitch-black depths. The first clues came from satellite surveys in the 1990s, revealing a vast, smooth surface beneath the ice too uniform to be rock. Further scans uncovered a complex network of channels and ridges, hinting at underwater geography shaped by forces we still don't fully understand. Then came the strangest discovery of all, a massive magnetic anomaly pulsating near the lake's center, registering readings unlike anything seen in natural bodies of water. Some researchers speculate it could be caused by deep geothermal vents, while others wonder if it signals something far more unusual, perhaps even remnants of metallic structures left behind by an ancient advanced culture. Russian scientists made history in 2012 by drilling through millennia of ice to reach Vostok's surface. What they found sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Samples contained traces of microscopic life forms with genetic markers unlike anything in known databases. These organisms weren't just surviving, they were thriving in an environment devoid of light and oxygen, sustaining themselves through chemical processes that defy textbook biology. The implications are staggering. If life can flourish here in conditions resembling Jupiter's icy moon Europa, it raises the spine-tingling possibility that Earth's harshest corners might still harbor remnants of lost civilizations. NASA has taken a keen interest in Vostok, citing it as the closest Earth-based analog to extraterrestrial oceans. The agency's extreme environment microbiologists warn that any life forms retrieved from the lake could be utterly alien to our understanding, potentially dangerous if mishandled. During drilling, Russian teams implemented stringent sterilization protocols, fearing contamination in both directions. What if Vostok's ecosystem holds pathogens or biological mechanisms frozen in time from an era when Antarctica was lush and temperate? The lake's hidden geography only deepens the enigma. Sonar mapping reveals towering underwater mountains and valleys, with some formations displaying unnerving symmetry. One particular structure, nicknamed the Obelisk by researchers, rises nearly 1,200 feet from the lakebed, its angular edges suggesting possible artificial origins. While most mainstream scientists dismiss this as pareidolia, the coincidence is striking. Ancient flood myths from multiple cultures speak of great stone needles swallowed by advancing ice, and Vostok's location aligns eerily with Plato's descriptions of Atlantis' southern reaches. As technology advances, so does our ability to probe this liquid time capsule. Plans are underway for robotic explorers to navigate Vostok's depths, capturing high-resolution images and sampling its most secluded corners. What they might uncover could rewrite not just the history of Antarctica, but the story of life itself. Whether it's extremophiles pushing the boundaries of biology or something even more paradigm-shattering, one thing is certain: Lake Vostok isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a Pandora's box of mysteries waiting to crack open beneath the ice. Long before Antarctica became the frozen wasteland we know today, it was a land of towering forests and sprawling river systems, a fact confirmed by something as delicate as pollen. Scientists drilling into the continent's deepest ice layers have uncovered microscopic fossils of palm trees, ferns, and even tropical flowering plants, all perfectly preserved in sediment dating back 34 million years. These tiny time capsules paint a startling picture. Antarctica wasn't just ice-free, it was lush, warm, and teeming with life. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Core samples reveal that the continent's glaciation didn't happen overnight. Climate models suggest a gradual cooling over millions of years, with habitable pockets potentially lingering much later than previously thought. Satellite reconstructions now overlay ancient temperature data onto modern topography, revealing vast coastal plains and sheltered valleys that could have supported human life as recently as 15,000 years ago, well within the timeline of advanced prehistoric cultures like the builders of Göbekli Tepe. The math is provocative. If Antarctica's last ice-free corridors existed just 12 to 20,000 years ago, coinciding with the Younger Dryas period, what's stopping us from considering that a maritime civilization might have thrived there? Ancient sailors could have navigated its temperate shores, building settlements in regions now buried under miles of ice. Tellingly, sediment layers from that era show abrupt spikes in soot and unusual metallic isotopes, markers often linked to human activity like smelting or large-scale fires. Of course, mainstream science remains skeptical, attributing these anomalies to volcanic activity. But the pollen doesn't lie. Species like Nothofagus, a beech tree now found only in Patagonia, once flourished across Antarctica's ancient river deltas. Their presence confirms a climate mild enough for agriculture and, by extension, civilization. When you combine this with Plato's account of Atlantis sinking beneath stormy seas, in a single day and night, it's hard not to wonder, were the violent climate shifts that froze Antarctica also the death knell for a forgotten society? The most compelling evidence might come from deep below the Ross Ice Shelf, where sonar has mapped river channels matching descriptions in Sumerian flood tablets, down to the unnerving detail of black stones piled high. If even a fraction of these clues point to human habitation, we're not just rewriting history, we're staring at the ghost of a world swallowed by ice. The Dogon people of Mali tell a story that shouldn't be possible. Passed down through generations, their oral traditions describe visitors from the Sirius star system, beings they call the Nomo, amphibious entities who arrived from the sky in a spinning vessel. What's astonishing isn't just the myth itself, but the details. The Dogon knew Sirius was a binary star system long before modern telescopes confirmed it in the 19th century. They spoke of its dense, invisible companion star, Sirius B, with pinpoint accuracy, including its 50-year orbital period. How could an isolated African tribe possess astronomical knowledge that science wouldn't grasp for centuries? The connection to Antarctica emerges in the Nomo's alleged journey. Dogon elders described their celestial teachers departing for a land of eternal ice, where they constructed great stone cities beneath glaciers. Tribal artwork depicts these beings with elongated limbs and fish-like lower bodies, eerily similar to Sumerian carvings of the Anunnaki, deities said to have descended from heaven to the Abzu, an ancient term for Earth's southern waters. Both cultures reference a cataclysmic flood that forced these entities into subterranean refuges. Could these myths be fractured memories of the same event? An advanced civilization retreating to Antarctica as ice engulfed their world. Admiral Bayard's disputed diary entries add fuel to the fire. Following Operation Highjump, he allegedly wrote of encountering a vast, warm cavern system beneath the ice, inhabited by pale, luminous beings with advanced technology. These entities warned him humanity was on a destructive path, echoing eerily close to the Dogon's account of the Nomo's warnings before their departure. While mainstream historians dismiss Bayard's diary as a hoax, the similarities are hard to ignore. 3 separate threads: Dogon lore, Sumerian tablets, and 20th-century military accounts all point toward Antarctica as a nexus for something inexplicable. The most compelling evidence might lie in the art. Dogon ceremonial masks feature concentric circles representing Sirius, often flanked by zigzagging lines symbolizing the path through the ice. Compare this to Sumerian cylinder seals showing Anunnaki figures standing atop stepped pyramids, with wavy motifs beneath their feet labeled the Frozen Abyss. Even more striking are the Tassili Ennaja cave paintings in Algeria, dated to 6000 BC, depicting humanoid figures in what appear to be diving suits emerging from oval vessels nearly identical to Dogon descriptions of the Nomo's arrival. Taken individually, these pieces could be written off as coincidence, but together they form a mosaic too precise to dismiss. Whether these stories represent ancestral memory, extraterrestrial contact, or fragments of a lost human epoch, one thing is clear: Antarctica's icy silence may hold whispers of a truth that once connected stars, myths, and civilizations across millennia. The real question isn't whether these connections exist, it's what they're trying to tell us. In the shadow of World War II, as Europe teetered on the brink of chaos, the Nazis launched an expedition to Antarctica that still fuels conspiracy theories today. Codenamed the New Swabia Campaign, this 1938 mission wasn't just about scientific prestige, it was a desperate hunt for something far more extraordinary. Packed with aircraft and advanced surveying equipment, the German vessel Schwabenland mapped over 200,000 square miles of ice, dropping swastika-marked stakes to claim territory they called New Schwabenland. But their true objective might have been buried beneath the frozen surface. Declassified documents reveal the Nazis weren't just charting ice, they were searching for thermal anomalies. Pilots reported strange heat signatures radiating from the Queen Maud Land region, with one logbook describing steam vents large enough to swallow a plane. When ground teams explored these zones, they allegedly found cave systems warmed by geothermal activity, some with liquid lakes and bizarre, lichen-like vegetation. These rumors gained traction after the war when captured German scientists confessed under interrogation that the SS had planned to build a subterranean base called Base 211, a refuge for elite personnel if the war turned against them. The plot thickens with post-war UFO sightings. In 1947, Argentine naval officers documented glowing disc-shaped craft emerging from the Southern Ocean near the very coordinates the Nazis had explored. Witnesses described the objects performing impossible maneuvers before vanishing into the stratosphere, behavior eerily similar to later accounts of Admiral Byrd's flying saucers. Were these experimental Nazi crafts built with technology gleaned from Antarctica's hidden networks? Declassified British files from Operation Tabarin suggest they feared exactly that. London's urgent 1943 mission to establish Antarctic bases wasn't just about science. It was a tactical move to block Nazi expansion. One classified memo warns of unverified German excavations in ice-free zones with potential for weapons deployment. Rare footage from the Schwabenland expedition adds haunting context. Grainy film reels show teams lowering sonic probes through crevices, their faces tense as the equipment registers hollow spaces beneath. In one unsettling sequence, a camera pans across a cavern wall adorned with strange, geometric scratches too precise to be natural formations. Whether these markings were ancient or made by the Nazis themselves remains unknown. What's undeniable is the Third Reich's obsession with Antarctica's secrets. From their meticulous maps, some showing underground rivers that match modern radar scans, to whispers of a vanished Urvolk or primordial master race hidden beneath the ice, the Nazis seemed convinced the frozen continent held more than mere territory. The most chilling evidence comes from a recovered SS dossier labeled Destination Unknown. It details plans to transport thousands of prisoners to Antarctica for forced labor, alongside cryptic references to recovering what was left behind. Allied intelligence dismissed it as delusional, but the dossier resurfaced in Russian archives in the 1990s with an addendum: satellite photos of massive, rectangular depressions in the ice structures that, if man-made, would dwarf the pyramids. Whether these were Nazi bunkers or remnants of something far older remains one of Antarctica's most unsettling unanswered questions. Turn to Google Earth, and Antarctica reveals a playground for mystery hunters where pixels and shadows spark debates about lost worlds. Among the most striking discoveries is the so-called spire, a needle-like structure jutting from the ice near the Shackleton Range. Enhanced images show a towering, smooth-sided obelisk estimated at over 150 meters tall, its shadow stretching unnaturally straight across the snow. Skeptics argue it's a wind-carved sastrugi formation, but the precision of its angles defies typical erosion patterns. When users overlay historical imagery, the spire appears fixed in place for decades, unlike migrating ice formations. Then there's the giant staircase, a series of near-perfect rectangular terraces descending into the Transantarctic mountains. Each step measures roughly 300 meters across, with edges so sharp they cast geometric shadows. Glaciologists suggest these could be exposed sediment layers, but the uniformity is uncanny. When digital elevation models strip away surface snow, the underlying topography suggests deliberate leveling, like the agricultural terraces of ancient Peru, but on a scale too vast for known civilizations. Most controversial is the frozen city grid, a cluster of pixelated lines near the South Pole resembling urban blocks under ice. Early dismissals blamed satellite glitches, but independent analysts using spectral enhancement revealed a gridwork extending over 12 square miles. The patterns mirror street layouts from Mohenjo-Daro or Teotihuacan, with intersections spaced at mathematically consistent intervals. Even more compelling, the grid aligns with magnetic north as it was positioned approximately 12,000 years ago before Earth's last polar shift. Separating potential structures from pareidolia, the mind's tendency to see familiar shapes requires forensic scrutiny. Experts examine shadow consistency across multiple satellite passes. Genuine anomalies cast shadows that obey Antarctic light angles year-round, while illusions distort with shifting sunlight. Another tell is pixel clustering. Natural formations scatter infrared signatures randomly, but right-angled features concentrate pixels in unnatural density pockets. Amateur investigators like Linda Moulton have pioneered enhancement techniques, combining NASA Lance thermal data with ultraviolet overlays to peel back ice layers. The implications are staggering. If even one of these anomalies proves artificial, it suggests a pre-glacial civilization advanced enough to shape landscapes on a continental scale. But Antarctica guards its secrets well. Each pixel holds a question: wind-sculpted ice, or the last traces of walls that once echoed with voices now silenced by millennia of snow. The truth may not emerge from satellites alone, but from boots on the ground digging where the shadows point. Plato's account of Atlantis isn't just a fable, it's a riddle with coordinates. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, he describes the lost civilization as lying beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the ancient name for the Strait of Gibraltar. But here's the twist. He specifies that Atlantis was situated opposite those pillars, not merely past them. Draw a line across the Atlantic from Gibraltar, and it doesn't lead to the Caribbean or the Americas. It points south directly toward Antarctica. This geographic clue took on new weight when Canadian researchers Rand and Rose Flem-Ath revived an explosive theory, crustal displacement. The idea, first proposed by Charles Hapgood in the 1950s, suggests Earth's outer shell can shift catastrophically, sliding entire continents into new latitudes while keeping the planet's axial tilt unchanged. Imagine the crust as a loose peel on an orange, suddenly rotating to relocate Antarctica from a temperate zone to the South Pole. Computer models based on paleoclimatic data support this. Fossil evidence shows Antarctica once hosted rainforests, while magnetic readings in ancient lava flows confirm the continent did move dramatically. Now superimpose Plato's timeline. He claimed Atlantis fell 9,000 years before Solon, placing its destruction around 11,600 BCE. That eerily coincides with the Younger Dryas period, a geological heartbeat marked by sudden climate collapse, rising seas, and bizarre thermal fluctuations, hallmarks of a crustal shift. If Antarctica was habitable before this event, its cities wouldn't have drowned. They'd have been flash frozen, preserved under ice like a prehistoric time capsule. Animations reconstructing Antarctica's prehistoric positions reveal a staggering possibility. 34 million years ago, it nestled against South America and Australia in the supercontinent Gondwana, its northern shores bathed in subtropical warmth. Even 12,000 years ago, post-shift simulations show residual habitable pockets along the coasts precisely where Plato described Atlantis's alternate rings of land and sea. The Flem-Aths took it further, cross-referencing ancient flood myths with ice core data to propose that survivors of the cataclysm scattered worldwide, seeding civilizations like Egypt and Sumer with tales of a sunken homeland. Mainstream geologists dismiss crustal displacement as outdated, favoring plate tectonics, but the devil's in the details. Plate movements are glacial, measured in centimeters per year. Crustal shifts are cataclysmic, triggered by imbalances like ice cap weight or mantle upheavals. Hapgood's theory gained unlikely endorsement from Albert Einstein, who wrote in a 1953 foreword that polar wandering could explain how parts of the Antarctic coast could have been ice-free simultaneously with the last ice age elsewhere. The clincher, Plato's description of Atlantis's geography: concentric rings, navigable canals, and a central acropolis, finds uncanny echoes in modern radar scans of Antarctica's Gambetsev Mountains. Hidden under 2 miles of ice, this range boasts valleys so symmetrical they resemble urban blueprints. Could these be the last traces of Atlantis's engineered landscape, frozen in mid-collapse? Whether myth or memory, Plato's clues align too precisely with Antarctica's secrets to ignore. The real question isn't whether the continent moved, but what or who might have been stranded there when it did. Electromagnetic scans conducted by physicist Dr. Brooks Agnew reveals something startling beneath Antarctica's ice sheets, vast, hollow spaces that defy conventional geology. Using ground-penetrating radar and low-frequency resonance technology, his team detected anomalous voids stretching thousands of feet below the surface, some large enough to swallow entire city blocks. The data suggests these aren't just random cavities, but structured networks with branching pathways and chambers that mirror artificial tunnel systems. Even more compelling, the scans picked up metallic signatures at certain junctions, readings inconsistent with known mineral deposits. Geothermal heat emerges as the key to understanding how these tunnels could exist. Antarctica sits atop one of Earth's most volatile volcanic systems, with over 140 known active vents pumping heat through the ice. CGI reconstructions based on seismic data show how these thermal oases could melt underground rivers and stabilize caverns, creating labyrinthine passageways shielded from the killing cold above. Some models even trace these hypothetical tunnels northward, following submerged ridges that once connected Antarctica to South America before continental drift separated them 50 million years ago. Could fragments of those ancient land bridges still exist as submerged conduits? Indigenous Mapuche legends speak of stone roads beneath the waves, leading to a lost southern land, while 19th-century whalers reported bizarre compass fluctuations in the Drake Passage anomalies consistent with large, unseen metallic structures deep below the surface. The implications are staggering. If these tunnels are real, they could form the ultimate time capsule. Stable geothermal zones would maintain liquid water and temperatures above freezing, potentially preserving organic material or even structures for eons. Russian microbiologists working at Vostok station found microbial life thriving in similar conditions, raising the possibility that more complex organisms might survive in these hidden ecosystems. But the most tantalizing theory comes from correlating Agnew scans with declassified Operation Highjump reports. Flight logs mention pilots detecting warm air drafts rising from crevices where no vents were visible, precisely where modern scans now show the deepest voids. Could these be natural chimneys venting heat from inhabited subterranean spaces? Simulations add fuel to the fire. When researchers input the electromagnetic data into hydrodynamic models, the results depict a sprawling underworld. Some tunnels appear wide enough for vehicle traffic, with smooth, glass-like walls characteristic of rapid melt and refreeze cycles. Others terminate in circular chambers resembling the underground cities of Cappadocia, complete with what might be ventilation shafts angling toward the surface. The most provocative detail, several tunnels align with the coordinates of Antarctica's so-called pyramids and the Piri Reis Map's river systems. If these features aren't natural, they suggest a level of engineering that rewrites the timeline of human, or perhaps non-human achievement. Yet the biggest question remains, what's down there now? Thermal imaging reveals pockets of air circulating between chambers, implying some tunnels remain open. Whether they're empty relics or active thoroughfares for something beyond our understanding, one thing is clear: Antarctica's secrets don't just lie buried in ice. They might be lurking in the dark, waiting in labyrinthine passages that stretch deeper than we've ever dared to explore. Whistleblower testimonies have added explosive new dimensions to Antarctica's mysteries, none more controversial than claims of alien infrastructure hidden beneath the ice. Former government insider Corey Goode stunned researchers in 2016 with detailed accounts of what he called ancient builder race installations, massive, pre-Diluvian structures allegedly discovered during covert missions. According to his testimony, these aren't just ruins, but active technological complexes guarded by energy fields, their walls inscribed with an unknown hieroglyphic language matching symbols found in UFO encounter reports from the 1950s. Goode described cylindrical chambers containing suspended entities with elongated skulls, preserved in a crystalline liquid that defied standard chemical analysis. While skeptics dismiss his story as science fiction, leaked Pentagon documents from 2020 reveal unsettling parallels. One classified memo references anomalous excavation targets in East Antarctica, noting non-terrestrial alloys recovered by private contractors. A phrase that resurfaces verbatim in forum posts by anonymous users claiming to be former Antarctic security personnel. The chatter intensified when blueprints surfaced on fringe aerospace forums, schematics labeled Project Iceworm 2.0, depicting domed structures buried beneath the ice shelf, complete with ventilation shafts and what appear to be docking bays. Though quickly debunked as fan art, these designs share eerie similarities with declassified Cold War-era sketches from Operation Deep Freeze, where engineers reportedly studied thermal stabilization methods for subsurface habitats. SETI scientists remain unconvinced, arguing that Antarctic anomalies are easily misidentified natural formations. Dr. Seth Shostak points to pseudocrater fields, volcanic ice caves that can resemble artificial tunnels, and reminds us that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yet even mainstream researchers admit the continent holds unexplained phenomena. The European Space Agency's 2023 GPS scans detected a 2-mile-wide metallic disc-shaped object under the Wilkes Land ice, its composition registering 86% nickel-iron, a ratio found in some meteorites but also in alleged UFO debris from Roswell. What makes these theories persist isn't just anecdotal evidence, but a pattern of institutional secrecy. Former McMurdo Station technician Brian Helmuth came forward in 2021 with photos of restricted zones marked with biohazard symbols, where drill teams wore pressurized suits far exceeding Antarctic safety protocols. He described retrieving ice cores that glowed faintly blue, a phenomenon later confirmed in unclassified NSF reports as bioluminescent microbial colonies, though Helmuth insists the samples were whisked away by Defense Department personnel. The most chilling account comes from a retired Navy flight engineer who wishes to remain anonymous. He claims his squadron regularly transported black-clad scientists to coordinates matching Good's alleged Builder Race site, where they monitored strange energy fluctuations. The ice itself would vibrate, he recounted, like the whole continent was humming. Whether these stories point to extraterrestrials, lost human technology, or something beyond current understanding, one thread connects them all. Antarctica isn't just hiding history. It might be harboring forces that operate on a scale we're only beginning to glimpse. In 2004, a joint NASA-German Grace satellite mission detected something beneath Antarctica that shouldn't exist, a gravitational anomaly so massive it distorted the planet's magnetic field across an area larger than Australia. Dubbed the Antarctic Gravity Anomaly, this colossal disturbance lies buried under nearly a mile of ice in the Wilkes Land region. At first, scientists assumed it was the remnants of an ancient asteroid strike, a crater left by an impact so catastrophic it could have triggered the Permian extinction 250 million years ago. But when researchers modeled the data, they hit a snag. The anomaly's gravitational signature didn't match any known impact structure. Instead of the scattered debris and fractured bedrock typical of asteroid collisions, the readings suggested something far denser and far stranger. Renowned physicist Michio Kaku weighed in, calling the energy patterns unprecedented. Unlike natural geological formations, which produce chaotic gravitational fluctuations, the Wilkes Land anomaly emits a rhythmic pulse, a steady, almost mechanical vibration that repeats every 72 hours. Kaku noted that such precision is either a geological first or evidence of something engineered. The numbers back him up. Scans reveal metallic concentrations at depths where Earth's crust should be solid rock, with nickel-iron ratios resembling alloys used in advanced spacecraft shielding. Even more perplexing, seismic waves passing through the zone slowed down dramatically, as if encountering hollow chambers or synthetic materials designed to absorb vibration. Mainstream geologists propose alternative explanations, pointing to mantle plumes upwellings of superheated rock from Earth's core. But mantle plumes don't account for the anomaly's perfect circular outline, a feature visible on satellite radar mosaics. The structure spans 300 miles wide, with edges so precise they look machined. When computer simulations removed the ice sheet, the underlying topography revealed a series of concentric rings, eerily reminiscent of Plato's description of Atlantis's capital city. The most chilling clue comes from historical context. In 1947, Admiral Byrd's Operation Highjump flight logs reported compasses spinning wildly over this exact region. Declassified Soviet archives from the same era describe pilots encountering a magnetic vortex that disabled their instruments. Even today, commercial flights divert around Wilkes Land due to unexplained navigational interference. Whether this anomaly is a cosmic accident or something more deliberate, one thing is clear. Beneath Antarctica's ice lies a force powerful enough to bend gravity itself, and we've only begun to grasp what that means. Deep within the ice cores drilled from Antarctica's most remote regions, scientists have uncovered objects that defy conventional timelines, artifacts that shouldn't exist. Take the notorious aluminum wedge of Ayod, discovered in 1974, buried under 35 feet of sediment in Romania. Though not from Antarctica, its composition mirrors similar finds in polar ice. This strange, foot-long object dates back 300 million years, an era long before humans walked the Earth, let alone mastered metallurgy. Lab analysis revealed an alloy of aluminum mixed with copper, zinc, and traces of other metals, a blend eerily similar to aerospace-grade materials used in modern aircraft. Skeptics argue it's a mining tool from the 19th century, but oxidization patterns tell a different story. The wedge's outer layer shows a level of corrosion consistent with millennia of burial, not decades. Materials scientist Dr. Natalia Petrovich, who studied the artifact, notes its surface bears microscopic striations, marks made during manufacture, but with no known ancient technology capable of such precision. Then there are the metallic spheres, hundreds of them, extracted from ice cores near the South Pole. These polished nickel-steel orbs, ranging from marble size to as large as grapefruits, exhibit near-perfect 1:3 to 9 dimensional ratios. When researchers cut one open, they found a spongy, carbon-rich interior surrounding a hollow core. Some contained a viscous black liquid that evaporated upon exposure to air, leaving behind crystalline residues. MIT's Dr. Elias Cartwright, who analyzed the spheres under electron microscopy, described their structure as engineered, not formed. The alloy's atomic lattice shows alignment patterns seen in synthetic materials, not natural ores. Even stranger, some spheres were etched with faint glyphs resembling cuneiform, a writing system that emerged thousands of years after these objects were allegedly encased in ice. Of course, not every Antarctic artifact withstands scrutiny. The infamous frozen astronaut photo that went viral in 2013 claimed to show a spacesuited figure half buried in ice, its helmet cracked open to reveal a skeletal face. Enhanced imaging revealed the truth, a clever hoax cobbled together from a mannequin, fishing line, and strategic lighting. Yet the photo's persistence in conspiracy circles highlights a deeper truth. Antarctica's icy depths have become a canvas for our collective fascination with the unknown, where genuine mysteries and wild fabrications blur together. What separates credible anomalies from clever fakes? Dr. Petrovich points to isotopic signatures. Natural metals bear distinct isotopic fingerprints from their geological origins, while manufactured alloys show homogenized ratios indicative of smelting. The Ayod wedge's isotopes match no known ore deposits, suggesting it was either crafted from meteoritic metal or something more unsettling. Meanwhile, the sphere's nickel isotopes align with pre-Cambrian meteor showers, yet their internal structures remain inexplicable. Nature doesn't produce hollow spheres with pressurized cores, Dr. Cartwright states, unless you count fossilized bubbles in lava, which these clearly are not. Perhaps the most provocative theory comes from paleoclimatologist Dr. Henrik Vogt, who proposes these objects are remnants of a previous technological civilization, one that rose and fell millions of years before humans. Earth is 4.5 billion years old, he notes. We've been industrialized for barely 300. The odds that we're the first to forge metal, build tools, or even chart the stars. Statistically, it's arrogant to assume so. Whether these frozen artifacts are proof of lost civilizations, extraterrestrial visitors, or simply nature's capacity to baffle us, one thing is certain: Antarctica's ice holds more questions than answers. And with every core sample pulled from its depths, the line between history and heresy grows thinner. Operation Deep Freeze wasn't just another polar expedition. It was a military operation wrapped in layers of secrecy that still raise eyebrows today. In 1955, the U.S. Navy launched its largest Antarctic mission since Bayard's era, ostensibly to construct McMurdo Station, a sprawling research hub at the continent's edge. But declassified memos reveal a far more urgent agenda. Satellite images from the period show teams diverting from planned construction sites, instead drilling into ice shelves hundreds of miles off-grid. Flight logs note abrupt mid-air course corrections, as if pilots were avoiding something on the radar. Then came the disappearances. 3 weeks into the mission, geologist Dr. Theodore Van Holden vanished during a routine survey near the dry valleys. His journal, recovered months later by a search team, contained frantic sketches of metal spires jutting from the ice, accompanied by measurements in an indecipherable numeric system. The final entry, dated 2 days before his disappearance, reads, "They're not ruins, they're waiting." Navy personnel confiscated the notebook under orders from Admiral George Dufek, who later cited classified geological hazards as the reason for sealing all related records until 2040. Footage from the McMurdo construction reveals oddities glossed over in official reports. In one clip, engineers work feverishly to reinforce a warehouse-sized hangar with steel plating far thicker than Antarctic storms would require. Another shows a convoy of sleds transporting crates marked X-1984 to an unmarked ice tunnel, a shipment absent from all cargo manifests, historian Dr. Emmett Caldwell, who analyzed the films, points out an unsettling detail. The workers wear radiation badges, unnecessary for standard construction even during atomic testing's peak. This wasn't about building a research station, he notes. It was about containment. The situation escalated in 1960 when the Navy abruptly declared a 300-mile no-fly zone over Queen Maud Land. Publicly, they blamed unstable weather, yet internal cables obtained through FOIA requests tell a different story. Pilot debriefings reference vertical light columns that disabled aircraft electronics, with one near-crash report describing a cityscape of blue glass glimpsed through storm clouds. The zone remains restricted today, patrolled by automated drones that intercept anything crossing its borders. Perhaps the most chilling evidence comes from a forgotten newsreel buried in New Zealand's National Archives. Shot by a naval cameraman in 1956, it captures engineers excavating a metallic disc partially embedded in glacial ice. The object's surface etched with spiral glyphs matching those later found in Iraq's Ubaid ruins gleams unnaturally under work lights. Within frames, an officer snatches the camera and the film cuts to static. The Navy denies the footage's authenticity, but metallurgists who analyzed still frames confirm the disc's alloy composition titanium, nickel, and an unidentified fibrous element has no natural or military counterpart. What began as a construction project became a vault for secrets frozen in time. Whether these events point to recovered technology, extraterrestrial contact, or something beyond our understanding, one pattern emerges: Antarctica doesn't just guard its own mysteries. It compels those who venture there to bury theirs. From the Epic of Gilgamesh to the Book of Genesis, flood myths echo across nearly every ancient culture. But what if these weren't just allegories? Striking similarities emerge when comparing these stories to Antarctica's geological record. The Sumerian account describes waters so violent they rose like a wall, wiping out entire cities in hours, while Maori traditions speak of a great deluge that forced ancestors to flee southward to the land where the ice giants sleep. Even the Bible's 40 days of rain align suspiciously well with ice core data, showing abrupt warming periods around 12,000 years ago, when Antarctica's glaciers began expanding at unprecedented rates. The hydroplate theory offers a radical explanation. Proposed by engineer Dr. Walt Brown, it suggests Earth's crust once floated on a massive subterranean ocean. A catastrophic rupture, possibly triggered by asteroid impacts or crustal shifts, would have unleashed these pressurized waters in tsunamis taller than skyscrapers. Computer animations based on this model show how such floods could have reached Antarctica within days, flash freezing entire landscapes as torrents met polar cold. Consider the implications. Cities near coastlines would have been buried under layers of sediment-laden ice, preserving structures like biological specimens in amber. This matches Plato's description of Atlantis sinking in a single day and night, and aligns with sonar anomalies under the Ross ice shelf that resemble tiled floors and collapsed columns. But the most compelling evidence comes from ice sheet stratification. Layers corresponding to the Younger Dryas period, 11,600 BC, show bizarre debris bands, pebbles, plant matter, even traces of building materials like lime mortar suggesting floodwaters carried fragments of civilization southward before freezing. Meanwhile, Hindu texts like the Matsya Purana describe temple spires encased in moving mountains of ice, eerily mirroring Antarctica's so-called pyramids. Whether these myths preserve ancestral memories or cosmic coincidences, their consistency with Antarctica's frozen past is unnerving. If even one culture's flood story recounts real events, it rewrites history, placing humanity's origins not just in fertile river valleys, but possibly on a continent now locked in ice. The truth may not lie in choosing between science and legend, but in recognizing how both could be fragments of the same lost story. Mount Erebus isn't your typical volcano. While most of Antarctica lies frozen in silence, this fiery giant churns with a perpetual lava lake, one of only 5 on Earth. Its glowing molten pool, visible from space, spews gold-rich gas and hurls volcanic bombs onto the surrounding ice. But Erebus isn't alone. Recent satellite surveys have uncovered 91 previously unknown volcanoes buried under the ice sheet, some towering nearly 4,000 meters, dwarfing even Japan's Mount Fuji. These hidden fire mountains form the densest volcanic region on the planet, a subterranean network of heat and fury that could rewrite Antarctica's story. What makes these volcanoes so extraordinary isn't just their power, it's what they create. Glaciologists using ice-penetrating radar have mapped vast liquid water systems beneath the ice, stretching for hundreds of miles like underground rivers. These aren't trickles. Some subglacial lakes rival North America's Great Lakes in volume, kept liquid by geothermal heat seeping through thin crust. CGI reconstructions reveal how these oases might look: caverns lit by volcanic glow, their ceilings dripping with stalactites of ice, while superheated springs sustain ecosystems untouched by sunlight for millions of years. Volcanologist Dr. Claire Benson describes the phenomenon firsthand. Erebus's magma chambers pump out enough heat to melt 2 Olympic pools worth of ice every hour, she explains. But here's the wild part: that meltwater doesn't just pool. It carves tunnels through the ice sheet, some wide enough to drive a subway train through. Her team's thermal drones have filmed steam vents blasting through glacier surfaces like geysers, creating microclimates where temperatures can spike 40 degrees Fahrenheit in minutes. The implications for lost civilizations are electrifying. Ancient architects could have harnessed these heat sources, building domed cities under the ice where geothermal energy powered everything from heating to agriculture. Simulations show how silica-rich volcanic glass abundant around Erebus could be melted into transparent panels, creating greenhouse-like structures to grow crops in perpetual darkness. Norwegian researchers tested this theory in Svalbard, constructing an ice dome heated by artificial hot springs. The result, a self-sustaining habitat where temperatures stayed at 68 degrees Fahrenheit despite Arctic blizzards outside. But the most tantalizing clue comes from ice cores drilled near active subglacial volcanoes. Layers dating back 12,000 years contain ash mixed with unnatural isotopes of lead and copper, metals smelted at temperatures only achievable in advanced furnaces. Some samples even show traces of carbon nanotubes, structures once thought to be modern inventions. Geochemist Dr. Raj Patel notes these particles didn't come from meteorites. Their crystalline patterns suggest deliberate manufacturing, possibly for tools or construction. Could Antarctica's volcanic heart have nurtured a forgotten society? Imagine settlements clustered around thermal vents, their inhabitants mining volcanic minerals and engineering hydraulic systems to distribute heat. When the climate shifted and the ice advanced, these communities might have retreated deeper, their existence fading into legend. As we peel back the layers of ice and time, the line between geology and archaeology blurs. The volcanoes still active beneath Antarctica aren't just geological curiosities. They could be the smoldering remnants of a world we're only beginning to uncover. The Chilean Navy's thermal footage from 2014 isn't just another blurry UFO clip. It's some of the most compelling evidence ever captured of unidentified objects operating near Antarctica. Recorded by helicopter pilots during a routine patrol off the coast of Puerto Williams, the video shows two metallic-looking objects moving in ways that defy conventional aerodynamics. One hovers motionless just above the frigid waters before plunging straight down, vanishing beneath the surface without a splash. The other streaks across the screen at speeds estimated at over 150 knots, performing abrupt 90-degree turns that would liquefy human pilots. What sets this footage apart isn't just the quality, it's the fact that it comes with military-grade FLIR thermal imaging, ruling out optical illusions or camera artifacts. When analysts enhanced the frames, they noticed something chilling. The objects emitted no exhaust plumes, yet their heat signatures fluctuated erratically, as if their energy sources were pulsing. Admiralty reports from the incident reveal even more unsettling details. Sonar operators tracked the submerged objects descending to depths exceeding 2,000 feet, far beyond the crush depth of any known submarine. Even more baffling, the sonar returns showed the objects maintaining a perfect triangular formation as they moved toward underwater coordinates, matching ancient maps of supposed entry points to subterranean networks. Chilean naval officials later admitted they'd logged similar encounters dating back to the 1960s, with one declassified document describing a massive, disc-shaped craft emerging from the Weddell Sea in 1989. Eyewitnesses reported it hovering just meters above the waves before dissolving into the air like a mirage. Digital enhancement of the 2014 footage adds new layers to the mystery. Slowed to 10% of its original speed, the moment one object enters the water reveals a brief but unmistakable distortion, an electromagnetic shimmer resembling the heat ripple effect seen in classified stealth aircraft tests. Aerospace engineer Dr. Marcos Herrera, who analyzed the frames, suggests this could indicate some form of inertial dampening field, technology that would allow an object to displace water without physical contact. It's as if the ocean itself parted for it, he remarked. The implications are staggering. If these crafts can traverse both air and water seamlessly, Antarctica's icy coasts might not just be hiding ruins, they could be concealing active underwater bases, perhaps even whole cities beneath the continental shelf. Theories about what these objects might be range from top-secret military prototypes to something far more enigmatic. USO unidentified submersible object reports aren't unique to Antarctica. Similar accounts come from Puerto Rico's trench, the Baltic Sea, and even Lake Baikal, where Soviet divers in the 1980s allegedly encountered silver-suited humanoids moving effortlessly through the depths. But Antarctica's case stands apart due to the sheer volume of corroborating data. Hydrophone arrays deployed by the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization have picked up anomalous low-frequency hums near the coordinates where the Chilean objects vanished. These sounds, dubbed the Antarctic Pulse, repeat every 11 days with mechanical precision, their source triangulated to a region of the seafloor riddled with unnatural-looking crevices. Marine geologists offer a cautious counterpoint, suggesting hydrothermal vents or collapsing ice shelves could explain some of the phenomena. Yet even skeptics concede the timing is suspicious. Multiple USO sightings cluster around zones where satellite altimetry shows gravitational anomalies, exactly the kind of distortions that might occur above hollowed-out subterranean spaces. Whether these objects are visitors from elsewhere, remnants of a lost civilization reactivating ancient technology, or evidence of clandestine human activity, one thing is clear: Antarctica's secrets aren't just trapped in ice. They're moving beneath the waves, daring us to follow. Zoom in on certain coordinates of Antarctica using Google Earth, and you'll notice something odd. Patches of the map suddenly turn into pixelated blurs, as if someone took an eraser to the landscape. These aren't glitches, they're deliberate censorship, and the pattern is impossible to ignore. Take the coordinates 77 degrees south, 167 degrees east near the Ross Ice Shelf. In 2005, satellite images showed a distinct angular formation resembling a massive, buried structure. By 2010, that same area was scrubbed into an indistinct smudge. NASA's own archives tell a similar story. High-resolution images from the Terra satellite once captured an unnervingly symmetrical cluster of what looked like towers near the Transantarctic Mountains. When researchers tried to access those files again in 2018, they'd been replaced with lower-resolution versions where the features were reduced to vague shadows. The censorship isn't random. Overlay the blurred zones with declassified Operation Highjump flight paths, and they align almost perfectly with areas where Admiral Byard's pilots reported anomalous terrain. Even more telling is the timing. The scrubbing intensified after 1991, when the Antarctic Treaty's Environmental Protocol quietly added a clause restricting civilian overflights below 60 degrees south latitude without governmental approval. Officially, this was to protect pristine ecosystems, but leaked memos from treaty negotiations reveal heated debates about sensitive sites and non-terrestrial artifacts, with one British delegate cryptically noting the need to limit uncontrolled observation. Compare uncensored images from early Landsat missions to modern datasets, and the differences are staggering. A 1976 photo of the Ellsworth Mountains shows a series of perfect, equidistant mounds stretching for miles, features absent in later images, replaced by artificial cloud cover or distorted pixels. Russian scientists protesting the restrictions managed to publish a handful of unaltered images in 2012 before their website was taken down. These shots revealed geometric patterns under the ice resembling urban grids, with what appear to be radial avenues converging on a central point. The resolution was sharp enough to count individual blocks, each measuring roughly 200 meters across. Why go to such lengths to hide Antarctica's secrets? The treaties provide clues. Buried in Annex 5 of the protocol is a little publicized provision allowing member nations to designate areas of special scientific interest as no-fly zones. While most of these zones are legitimate research sites, some, like the 50-mile exclusion radius around the so-called Wilkes Land anomaly, have no published studies associated with them. Aviation charts label them simply as HAZ or hazard areas despite no known environmental risks. Pilots who have accidentally strayed into these zones report sudden instrument failures and radio blackouts, glitches consistent with powerful electromagnetic interference, the kind emitted by active subterranean machinery. The most provocative evidence comes from insider leaks. A former contractor for the U.S. Antarctic program, speaking anonymously in 2020, described a classified briefing where staff were shown clean versus raw satellite feeds. The unedited versions allegedly revealed unnatural light emissions from ice cracks near the South Pole, along with thermal signatures suggesting vast, hollow spaces beneath the surface. When asked why these details were removed, supervisors cited national security priorities. Whether these measures hide remnants of a lost civilization, clandestine research, or something beyond our current understanding, one thing is clear: Antarctica's truth isn't just buried under ice. It's being actively kept from view. Legends of Hyperborea speak of a vast repository hidden beneath the eternal ice, a so-called world library, said to contain the collective knowledge of an advanced civilization lost to time. Ancient texts describe halls lined with crystalline tablets that could store entire histories in a single flickering facet, waiting to be awakened by those who could decipher their secrets. Modern researchers are now beginning to wonder if there's more than myth to these accounts, with Antarctica's subglacial caverns acting as nature's perfect preservation chambers. Could lost technologies or even entire archives survive intact in this frozen time capsule? Consider the physics at play. Ice at extreme depths behaves unlike surface frost, forming dense, glass-like matrices under pressure that can encase objects with near-perfect clarity. When scientists pulled a 20,000-year-old woolly mammoth from Siberian permafrost, its muscle tissue was so well preserved it still held viable DNA. Apply that same principle to artificial materials, metallic alloys, mineral-based data storage, or even organic inks on treated parchment, and the possibility of recovering readable knowledge becomes startlingly plausible. Experimental teams at the South Pole have already demonstrated this. Using controlled laser melting, they've successfully extracted intact pollen grains and microbes from ice cores without damaging their microscopic structures. Scale that technology up, and you could theoretically recover entire books, their pages frozen mid-sentence for millennia. Then there's the eerie case of the Vostok station drills. In 2018, Russian engineers hit a snag when their borehole encountered an unusually hard layer at 3,600 meters, not ice, but what ground-penetrating radar identified as a dense, geometric cluster just above the lake's surface. Initial spectroscopic scans suggested a high silica content, consistent with manufactured glass or quartz. Some researchers speculate these could be the crystal tablets of Hyperborean lore, their molecular structure engineered to preserve information like a prehistoric hard drive. The project was abruptly mothballed due to environmental concerns, but leaked thermal images show the anomaly maintaining a constant temperature differential with the surrounding ice, as if emitting a faint energy signature. Even more tantalizing are the whispers from classified recovery operations. A former contractor for the National Ice Core Laboratory recounted handling a section of ice that glowed faintly blue under ultraviolet light, a phenomenon caused by rare earth mineral deposits often used in data storage technologies today. When the sample was split open, it revealed thin metallic filaments arranged in fractal patterns, resembling the circuitry of modern optical chips. The artifact vanished into military custody before proper analysis could begin, but its existence suggests an unsettling possibility. Antarctica's ice might not just preserve knowledge passively. Some artifacts could be actively maintaining their functionality, waiting for the right conditions or the right hands to reactivate them. The implications rewrite what we consider possible. If even a fraction of these Hyperborean legends hold truth, humanity might be on the verge of the greatest archaeological discovery in history, not just buried ruins, but an entire intellectual legacy frozen in suspended animation. Whether it's scrolls sealed in glacier tombs or crystalline matrices humming with encoded wisdom, one thing is certain: Antarctica's deepest ice doesn't just conceal the past. It may very well be keeping it on pause. Operation Windmill remains one of Antarctica's most enigmatic military missions, an expedition overshadowed by its infamous predecessor, Operation Highjump, but potentially far more revealing. Officially labeled as a training exercise in 1947, the mission's true purpose emerges only when stitching together fragmented declassified documents and the hushed testimonies of aging veterans. Among the most compelling pieces of evidence are the missing film reels, supposedly destroyed in a warehouse fire in 1951, yet snippets survive in personal collections and naval archives, offering glimpses of something the government never intended us to see. One such clip, recovered from the estate of a deceased Navy cameraman, shows a team of engineers struggling to extract a metallic, disc-shaped object from a glacial crevasse. The footage, grainy but unmistakable, captures the moment a floodlight reveals strange symbols etched into the object's surface, glyphs resembling no known ancient script, but bearing eerie similarity to those described in Admiral Byard's private journals. The film abruptly cuts as a uniformed officer steps in front of the lens, his gloved hand obscuring the camera. According to the cameraman's handwritten notes later obtained by researchers, the object emitted a low-frequency hum that made the ice around it vibrate unnaturally. Redacted after-action reports fill in some blanks. A heavily censored 1948 memo from the Office of Naval Intelligence references artifacts of non-terrestrial origin recovered during Windmill, with a handwritten margin note speculating about their potential energy applications. Another document, partially declassified in 2012, describes a team of scientists flown in under armed guard to examine an anomalous structure near the Queen Maud Land coast. The structure, according to the report, displayed geometric precision inconsistent with natural formations, its walls composed of an alloy that resisted all attempts at drilling or sampling. The most chilling testimony comes from a retired machinist's mate who broke his silence on his deathbed in 2016. Speaking to an independent researcher, he recounted loading crates marked with a black triangle onto a cargo plane, crates that shifted weight inexplicably mid-flight, as if their contents were moving independently. He described one accidentally cracking open during transport, revealing a smooth, obsidian-like cylinder inside that pulsed with a faint blue light. When a crewman reached to touch it, the object emitted a burst of static that temporarily paralyzed his arm. The crate was immediately resealed and placed under armed guard, its final destination never disclosed. Digital reconstructions based on these accounts animate what the lost films might have shown. CGI renderings depict teams in Arctic gear lowering a sled-mounted device into a cavern, its walls lined with what appear to be metallic ribs. Thermal overlays suggest heat signatures radiating from deep within the ice, patterns too uniform to be geothermal vents. Another sequence, extrapolated from sailor sketches, shows a domed chamber partially collapsed under glacial pressure, its floor littered with shattered fragments of an unknown crystalline material. Why the cover-up, connecting dots between Windmill and later events, raises unsettling possibilities. In 1952, the same year the missing films were allegedly destroyed, the U.S. Air Force established Project Blue Book to investigate UFO sightings, a project later revealed to have been a front for reverse engineering studies. Declassified budgets from the period show a sudden spike in funding for metallurgical analysis at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, coinciding with the arrival of crates shipped from naval storage facilities in Norfolk. Whether Windmill's artifacts were extraterrestrial, remnants of a lost civilization, or something beyond classification, one thing is clear: the mission's true discoveries were never meant for public eyes. The final clue lies in an overlooked footnote from a 1994 Geological Survey report. While analyzing ice core samples near Windmill's operational zone, researchers noted microscopic metallic particles embedded in layers dating back 12,000 years, particles exhibiting nanotube structures only reproducible with modern nanotechnology. No natural process explains their presence. If Windmill's teams found similar anomalies, it would explain the urgency to erase all traces. Antarctica's ice doesn't just preserve history. It guards secrets powerful enough to rewrite it. Long before satellites revealed Antarctica's secrets, occultists and secret societies wove elaborate myths around the frozen continent. Helena Blavatsky, the enigmatic founder of Theosophy, claimed in the late 19th century that Antarctica was the last remnant of Lemuria, a lost civilization of spiritually advanced beings who supposedly thrived before recorded history. Her writings describe towering ice-locked temples where Lemurian adepts preserved ancient wisdom in crystal vaults, waiting for humanity to evolve enough to reclaim it. Blavatsky's maps, sketched in fading ink, placed Lemuria's capital near modern-day Queen Maud Land, a region now notorious for gravitational anomalies and buried structures. While mainstream scholars dismiss her visions as fantasy, it's striking how often her descriptions align with modern discoveries, particularly her insistence that the continent's interior held hollow realms, warmed by subterranean fires, a concept eerily echoed by contemporary scans of subglacial volcanoes and geothermal lakes. The Nazis took these ideas to darker extremes. The Thule Society, an occult faction that influenced the Third Reich, became obsessed with Antarctica as the mythical Hyperborea, a Nordic homeland said to house the Aryan race's origins. Declassified SS files reveal expeditions to Antarctica weren't just about territorial claims. They sought the Black Sun, a supposed energy source hidden beneath the ice. Esoteric maps recovered from Hitler's inner circle show detailed, if delusional, sketches of Agartha, a subterranean kingdom accessible through polar openings. These diagrams, adorned with swastikas and runes, mark specific coordinates near Neuschwabenland as gateways, mirroring modern reports of electromagnetic disturbances in those same zones. Even more unsettling are the parallels between Thule symbolism and glyphs found on artifacts like the Aod wedge spirals and angular scripts that resurface in both Nazi occult texts and objects pulled from Antarctic ice. Not all accounts stem from mystics or fanatics. Jesuit missionaries stationed in Tierra del Fuego during the 17th century wrote of eerie, devil lights flickering above the Antarctic horizon. One priest's diary from 1683 describes flames that danced without smoke, moving in geometric patterns against the southern sky. Modern researchers note these reports align with plasma phenomena observed near active volcanoes, but the Jesuits had no knowledge of Antarctica's volcanic belt. Their descriptions of the lights forming gate-like arches also resonate with contemporary USO sightings over the Weddell Sea, where craft seem to vanish into thin air. The most compelling evidence linking occult lore to reality lies in the symbolism. Compare a Thule Society ritual dagger, engraved with a spiral descending into a labyrinth, to LiDAR scans of Antarctica's Gambetsev mountain range. The subterranean peaks form near identical spiral patterns, their ridges radiating outward like the steps of an inverted ziggurat. Similarly, Blavatsky's sketches of Lemurian energy towers bear uncanny resemblance to the metallic spires described in Operation Windmill leaks. Whether these connections stem from clairvoyance, stolen knowledge, or sheer coincidence, the overlap between esoteric tradition and hard data is too precise to ignore. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't whether these groups knew something we're just uncovering, but why their visions, however distorted, keep pointing back to the same icy depths. From Blavatsky's crystals to the Nazis' Black Sun, one thread binds them all: the conviction that Antarctica isn't just a continent, it's a beacon calling across time to those who believe the greatest truths lie buried. Antarctica's ice is retreating at an alarming rate, and with every melt, the continent's buried secrets inch closer to the surface. Projections from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change suggest that by 2040, warming temperatures could strip away enough ice to expose vast stretches of previously hidden terrain. Glaciologists warn that entire regions, like the vulnerable Thwaites Glacier, may collapse within decades, potentially unveiling structures or artifacts frozen in time. But it's already happening. In 2020, a massive iceberg calved off the Larsen ice shelf, revealing jagged formations beneath that didn't match typical glacial geology. High-resolution satellite images showed symmetrical ridges and angular depressions, features that looked eerily deliberate. Some researchers argue these could be natural fractures amplified by erosion, but others point to the precision of the angles, suggesting they might be the skeletal remains of something far older. The ethical dilemma is as deep as the ice itself. Dr. Elsa Winther, a leading glaciologist at the University of Copenhagen, describes the race against time. Every layer of ice we lose is like a page torn from a history book, one we might never get to read. Melting exposes organic materials to rapid decay, while sudden temperature shifts can shatter delicate artifacts. Archaeologists face a brutal paradox. Climate change is both destroying and revealing the past. In 2019, a team working near the Antarctic Peninsula stumbled upon wooden fragments protruding from a thawing ice patch. Carbon dating placed them at roughly 2,000 years old, long before recorded human presence on the continent. Were they driftwood carried by ancient currents or evidence of a fleeting visit by prehistoric explorers? The samples disintegrated before further tests could be done. The debate intensifies when considering intervention. Should scientists accelerate excavations in vulnerable zones, risking damage to pristine sites in the name of preservation? Or should they let nature take its course, potentially losing irreplaceable knowledge to the sea? Dr. Rajan Patel, an environmental ethicist, warns of climate colonialism, the rush to extract Antarctica's secrets before rising waters claim them, echoing historic exploitation of indigenous lands. Yet the stakes are unprecedented. Ice-penetrating radar has mapped anomalies across the continent, from metallic concentrations to geometric cavities, all now at risk of vanishing beneath meltwater. The 2020 calving event offers a chilling preview. When the iceberg known as a 68 broke free, it exposed a cliff face streaked with strange, iron-rich bands, mineral deposits that typically form near hydrothermal vents or, controversially, in smelting sites. Preliminary scans detected hollow spaces behind these layers, their shapes too uniform to dismiss. But before researchers could deploy submersibles, the unstable ice shelf collapsed, swallowing the site beneath the waves. It's a sobering reminder: Antarctica's secrets are on borrowed time. As the ice retreats, we're not just witnessing a geological transformation, we're racing against it to uncover a past that could rewrite our understanding of human history. The question isn't just what we'll find, but whether we'll reach it before it's gone forever. Antarctica's frozen expanse has claimed more than just ancient secrets. It's also buried modern explorers under a shroud of unexplained deaths and institutional silence. The statistics are staggering. Between 1982 and 2023, at least 47 researchers and support staff died under circumstances officially labeled as accidents, yet incident reports reveal glaring inconsistencies. Take the case of Dr. Mikhail Kovalyev, a Russian microbiologist who vanished near Lake Vostok in 2012. His last radio transmission described structures too regular to be rock before static swallowed his voice. Search teams found his body 3 days later, perfectly preserved in a crevasse, with no signs of trauma but his notebook missing. The official cause of death was hypothermia, yet his core temperature readings showed no evidence of freezing. His family's request for an independent autopsy was denied, and his research logs were sealed under national security provisions. The pattern extends beyond individuals. In 2018, an entire Belgian glaciology team perished when their snowcat plunged through seemingly stable ice near the Wilkes-Land anomaly. Rescue crews recovered the vehicle's black box, which recorded abrupt electromagnetic interference moments before the crash interference, matching the same pulsations detected by Chilean Navy hydrophones. The incident report was heavily redacted, with entire pages citing geothermal activity as the cause, despite no active vents in the area. When survivors of other near misses come forward, their stories share eerie commonalities. Equipment failures coinciding with anomalous thermal readings, GPS systems spinning uncontrollably near specific coordinates, and in at least 4 cases, claims of black figures glimpsed through blizzards. Institutional pushback against these revelations is fierce. When geologist Dr. Linda Chen published a peer-reviewed paper in 2019 correlating researcher fatalities with gravitational anomaly zones, her university abruptly terminated her funding. Her findings, based on decade-long metadata analysis, showed a 400% increase in fatal incidents within 5 miles of high-intensity magnetic distortions. The study vanished from academic databases 6 months later, replaced by a retraction notice citing methodological errors. Similar suppression followed journalist Ethan Crowder's 2020 documentary Ice Silence, which featured whistleblowers from the U.S. Antarctic program describing a culture of intimidation. Crowder's raw footage, including interviews with a former Navy medic who treated survivors of a classified thermal event, was seized under the Antarctic Treaty's non-disclosure annexes. The timeline of these incidents reveals a chilling rhythm. Cluster deaths spike every 11 to 12 years, most recently in 2021, when 7 technicians died within a 2-month span during the construction of Antarctica's new high-energy particle detector. Official reports blamed carbon monoxide poisoning, yet leaked emails between project managers mention protocol breaches involving unapproved excavation. The most jarring case came from South Africa's Sani base in 2016, where astrophysicist Dr. Annika Visser logged 37 hours of audio before her apparent suicide. The recordings, later obtained by her sister, capture Visser whispering about lights beneath the ice and pleading with someone or something to stop the signal. Authorities dismissed the audio as psychosis-induced hallucinations, but spectrographic analysis revealed a subsonic pulse matching the Antarctic anomaly's 72-hour cycle. What connects these tragedies? Former contract workers point to Article 13 of the Antarctic Science Charter, a little-known clause allowing governments to classify any discovery posing paradigm-shifting risks. In practice, this has meant burying inconvenient truths under layers of bureaucracy and obfuscation. When Norwegian paleoclimatologist Dr. Henrik Olsen attempted to autopsy ice core samples containing nanofilaments in 2022, his lab was raided by Europol agents citing biosecurity violations. The samples, extracted from a region overlapping with Operation Windmill's old coordinates, were never returned. Meanwhile, death certificates for researchers like Kovalov and Visser list vague, unspecific causes, a stark contrast to the meticulous documentation required for polar expedition fatalities elsewhere. The most disturbing thread emerges from insurance claims. Private firms covering Antarctic personnel have quietly tripled their premiums for high-risk zones, while Lloyd's of London's internal memos explicitly exclude payouts for incidents involving unidentified energy exposures. These financial footnotes speak louder than official denials. Behind the sterile language of reports and retractions, a truth lingers like frost on a tombstone. Antarctica guards its secrets not just with ice but with blood. And as the continent's glaciers retreat, the shadows behind these deaths grow longer. Retired military personnel have come forward with testimonies that could shatter our understanding of Antarctica's hidden past. Among the most startling accounts is that of Lieutenant Commander Brian Sinclair, a former Navy flight engineer who claims to have transported scientists to a classified site known as Station Iceberg in the late 1990s. His description of the facility defies conventional logic: a series of domes buried beneath the ice, their walls lined with what appeared to be metallic alloy panels etched with strange, angular glyphs. The air inside was warm, almost tropical, Sinclair recounted in a 2020 interview, and the deeper we went, the more the walls hummed, like the whole place was alive. His claims align eerily with declassified Operation Highjump documents mentioning thermal zones and mechanical resonance detected near the Queen Maud Land region. Then there's Sergeant Marco Torres, a former Army communications specialist stationed at McMurdo in 2010. Torres describes being part of a security detail for a research team drilling into an anomalous metallic mass near the South Pole. Their sensors went crazy, he said. The drill bits kept shattering like whatever was down there was harder than diamond. Thermal imaging reportedly revealed a vast, wheel-like structure beneath the ice, its spokes radiating outward in perfect geometric intervals. Torres's account gains credibility when cross-referenced with the infamous Wilson-Davis memo, a leaked document from the 1980s outlining protocols for handling non-terrestrial artifacts. The memo's authenticity has been fiercely debated, but its terminology mirrors Torres's descriptions almost verbatim, particularly the references to crystalline alloys and harmonic interference fields. Perhaps the most unsettling testimony comes from an anonymous Air Force pilot stationed at Thule Air Base. In 2015, he claims to have flown a covert mission to extract a team of archaeologists from a collapsing ice cavern near the Gambetsev Mountains. They brought something out with them, he said. Not a weapon, not a tool, something organic. It looked like it was made of glass, but it moved. His account, while fragmentary, finds echoes in a rarely discussed 1954 CIA file codenamed Project Quicksilver, which details the recovery of biomechanical specimens from an Antarctic excavation. The file's language is deliberately obtuse, but one phrase stands out. Subject exhibits properties inconsistent with known evolutionary pathways. To evaluate these claims, researchers apply the Wilson-Davis framework, a rubric developed by intelligence analysts to assess whistleblower credibility. It examines 4 criteria: corroboration, technical plausibility, behavioral indicators, and material evidence. Sinclair's and Torres's accounts score highly on the first 2. Their descriptions of alloy compositions match patents filed by aerospace contractors in the 1970s for materials capable of withstanding extreme electromagnetic stress. The pilot's testimony, however, falters on material evidence. No verifiable documentation of glass-like organisms exists in the public domain. Yet all 3 narratives converge on one point: Antarctica isn't just hiding ruins. It's concealing technology, or perhaps biology, that operates on principles we don't yet understand. Animated recreations bring these accounts to life. One sequence based on Sinclair's descriptions visualizes Station Iceberg as a honeycomb of hexagonal chambers, their ceilings supported by glowing, vein-like conduits. Another depicts Torres's wheel structure as a colossal, gear-like mechanism half buried in ice, its surface throbbing with faint blue pulses. The most speculative animation interprets the pilot's glass entity as a translucent, amoeboid mass that shifts between solid and liquid states, an extrapolation drawn from declassified research on programmable matter. These visuals aren't proof, but they translate vague testimonies into tangible hypotheses, allowing us to grapple with their implications. Skeptics argue these stories are disinformation carefully planted to divert attention from real military activities. They point to inconsistencies in timelines and the lack of physical evidence. Yet even the most hardened critics admit Antarctica's secrecy is disproportionate. Budget allocations for polar research ballooned from $12 million in 2000 to over $350 million by 2023, with no published breakthroughs to justify the spike. Whether these whistleblowers are revealing truths or perpetuating myths, their collective message is clear. Beneath Antarctica's ice lies a puzzle, one that someone, somewhere, is desperate to keep unsolved. So where does the evidence lead us? The pyramids, the Piri Reis Map, the gravitational anomalies, each piece alone could be dismissed as coincidence, but together they form a mosaic too precise to ignore. Antarctica isn't just a frozen desert, it's a puzzle box layered with contradictions. The geological oddities, the whispers of lost technology, even the tragic deaths of researchers. None of these definitively prove an ancient civilization, but they do demand answers beyond the usual dismissals of pareidolia or natural formations. Consider the scale of what we're grappling with. Satellite scans reveal structures matching Plato's descriptions of Atlantis. Ice cores contain metals smelted at temperatures impossible for prehistoric humans. Military expeditions vanish into classified oblivion, their findings locked behind national security stamps. Yet for all these breadcrumbs, the trail runs cold, not because the evidence isn't compelling, but because the continent remains a fortress of secrecy. The Antarctic Treaty, originally designed to preserve peace, now functions as a gag order, shielding potential discoveries behind walls of bureaucracy. This isn't about wild speculation, it's about transparency. When glaciers calve to reveal geometric patterns, shouldn't independent scientists have immediate access? When pilots report electromagnetic anomalies strong enough to scramble instruments, why no public investigations? The refusal to engage with these questions only deepens the mystery. What's needed now is pressure, not for conspiracy, but for collaboration. Crowdsourced analysis of satellite data, unbiased digs at thawing sites, declassification of Cold War-era files. Imagine what we might learn if the same resources poured into Mars rovers were directed beneath Antarctica's ice. And perhaps the biggest question isn't just what lies hidden there, but why it matters. If Antarctica does hold remnants of a lost civilization, it rewrites our place in history. No longer the first advanced society, but heirs to something older, a legacy frozen in time. Or if the anomalies point to something beyond human, the implications echo farther still. So let's keep digging, questioning, and connecting the dots. Share your theories below. Every perspective adds to the search, because Antarctica isn't just a relic of Earth's past. It might be the key to understanding our future and whether we're truly alone in the cosmos. Look up tonight. The same stars that watched over Atlantis, or whatever thrived there, now shine down on us. The mystery isn't just beneath the ice, it's woven into the fabric of the universe itself.